Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am Snow Valkyrie, and this is my review of Remnant 2. I will start this by saying that I love the first game. I finished it twice, that is, collect everything in the game over the years, and I was really hyped for Remnant 2, and I gotta say, I was not disappointed. It's a really fun game, and I found myself lost in it for far too much. I finished the campaign in 3 days. The only big critique I'd levy is the performance. While I don't have a beefy PC, it's honestly quite old at this point. It's decent, so I expected better performance from the way the game looks. But honestly, this is my only quote-unquote real critique. I do have some nitpicks, but they can't be overlooked. So, let's start. The story is similar to the first one. By that I mean it's not exactly in the foreground, and if you want more, you'll need to pay more attention to it, especially in environmental storytelling. Blossom is the main example of that, and I really love the place. I suppose I should talk about the worlds themselves. As mentioned before, Blossom is my favorite world. I really like the 18th century London aesthetic of the Dran, meshed with the Fey high Gothic aesthetic. It's quite an extreme shift between the places, and I quite like exploring this world. And the characters here are quite fascinating. Don't worry, no spoilers here. Geisha is fine enough. I do like the jungle aesthetic, but it's nothing too out of the ordinary. That being said, the band might be the best designed creatures looks-wise. I really like how they look and how their armor goes around them. Now, I'm just gonna say it. I hate Nerud. I hate going around it. I hate the enemies you fight, except for the robots. But some of the weapons are kinda cool. Some of the quests and bosses here are quite fun and interesting, but overall I hate this place. There isn't much to talk about the labyrinth. The whole place does look interesting, but otherwise there's not much to it. I will not be talking about the last world, because I'd rather you experience it for yourself. Now, while I have completed the campaign once and am working on a new one with a higher difficulty, I probably shouldn't have re-rolled it because I didn't find all of the secrets and items, but oh well, it means I get to play more of the game. I didn't expect there to be more to the story after the campaign. Granted, this is just something an NPC told me. Didn't meet them in the first run, so I can't say if the dialogue is the same, but the gist of it is that there may be more to the story if you run through the game more times. I'll check it to see if it's true, and if it is, I'll either post a comment if it's nothing significant, or post a full story video with that included. Right, I seem to have reached this point, and it seems that there's just rewards to doing it all, with some story elements. I will play more of the game to see if there are other secrets, but I think that is it. Now on to the main thing, the combat. Overall, the gunplay is really nice. The weapons themselves are quite different from one another, so it's always nice to find some new ones. Granted, I got a weapon from a boss early on, and it became my main due to the massive ricochet. And sorry, but I got to rant about this. Why are the enemies sometimes invulnerable? I can still shoot them, no problem, but my ricochet just bounces off with no damage dealt. It's extremely frustrating, especially with the bugs in Nerud. It's one of the reasons I hate the world. Anyway, the guns feel nice to shoot, and the hitboxes are really nice as well, especially with the dodging. There are some frustrating bosses, but it's due to my error, or skill issue if you prefer, rather than the boss doing some bullshit. elites or special enemies, I don't know how to call them, are quite challenging. Some are quite hard to kill due to resistances and hard to reach weak points. And some kill you quite easily, especially the brutes. There are others that can one-shot you, but for some reason I find them to be the hardest to deal with. The abilities are changed from the first game in a good way. You basically have two classes to equip and they both give you abilities. More choices unlock once you level them at level 0, 5 and 10. The weapons themselves still have slottable abilities. Boss weapons are locked in like before. And now you can also slot in mutators. My favorite one being the chance to refund a shot into your mag, so one-shot weapons can fire rapidly if you get lucky. Same for melee weapons, but you can slot in abilities there. Some have special built-in passives, but nothing more than that. Talking about melee, how viable is it? In exploration mode, that is anything that's not a boss fight, is quite nice. Especially with some rings and amulets due to life leech. In boss fights, however, it's a gamble. Some bosses can be fought melee, but most of the ones I encountered are beyond reach of melee, or it's ill-advised due to damage resistance of the boss looking at you Venom, so it's really hard to recommend that build for bosses. Even if I myself do run it, that life leech saved me more times than I'd like to admit. Overall, the game is designed for ranged combat, and I can't really fault the devs for choosing it. Just that I'd like more options. Same goes with pet classes that have no ranged attacks. They just try to hit the boss but can't. There are a lot of fun bosses in this game. I even found one of my favorites from Souls-like games, the Red Prince for those who know. And they are way better designed than in the first game and more challenging. I won't spoil too many bosses, but do know that they are cool. As with the first game, you'll have to re-roll the world or go on an adventure to collect all of the things in the game. It does feel like you have to grind for items more though, especially scrap. There are items that make it less grindy, but I only found them after the campaign, so I guess I got unlucky. Granted, it's been quite some time since I played the first one, so I don't remember if the grind was as much as this. It's also been harder to get crystals and simulacrums. Also, after completing the campaign, I still haven't gotten any hardened iron, but after playing more adventures and the campaign again, I started to get them. Overall, I really love this game. It's really fun and is sometimes frustrating, but it's mostly due to me falling off the map in Yeisha or a skill issue on bosses. I didn't experience any crashes and the bugs were minimal. That's quite a feat in this time and age. And I really hope that the DLCs are good, and I will make more videos on them once they come out. I really hope you give this game a shot, because it's really worth it. And I can't wait to see more from the devs.